Hello, my name is Annie Yoon, and I'm here to present on the topic, does history repeat itself? It has shown that history does repeat itself, as has been proven by the comparison of the Armenian genocide and the Holocaust. Both of these historical events are similar in that both genocides were due to religious differences. They devastated the population of the persecuted groups and heavily tortured the targeted population. To begin with, both of these occurrences targeted groups of people due to their different religious beliefs. During the Armenian genocide, Armenians were seen as infidels by the Ottoman rulers and citizens who were predominantly Muslim. Because of the Christian Armenians' lack of loyalty towards their Muslim government, they were forced to pay higher taxes and had little political and legal rights. For 2 years, under the rule of Sultan Abdul Hamid, Turkish military and citizens were freely murdered and stole from Armenians. Whereas during the Holocaust, Hitler saw Jews as an imperfection to the world's society. He strongly believed that pure Christian Germans were the supreme race. To strip Germany and the world of Jews, Hitler commanded the arrest of tens of thousands of Jews and forced them into ghettos or concentration camps where they were eventually killed. Another similarity between these events was the fact that the target groups had a steep decline in population after the widespread ethnic cleansing. The vast majority of Turkey's population was Muslim, with a small margin of the citizens being Christian, also known as Armenians. Turkey's total population in the early 1900s stood at about 12 million. An estimated amount of 2 million of those 12 million citizens, so about 16.7%, were Armenian. Around 1.5 Armenians were killed during the massacre, and some others were forcibly removed from the country, only leaving 388,000 Armenians left in Turkey, bringing down the percent of Armenians in Turkey to about 3.2%. During the beginning of the Holocaust, Germany's total population was about 67 million people. Jews made about 0.75% of the population, with 5,500 people. In total, 6 million Jews were executed all over Germany and Europe. This left only 37,000 Jews left in Germany, and the total Jewish population in Europe went from 9.5 million to 3.5 million. Lastly, a third similarity between these two genocides was that the two prosecuted groups were brutally tortured before getting executed. From 1915 to 1922, the Turkish government had ordered the arrest of hundreds of thousands of Armenians. The Armenians who had jobs such as being a lawyer, doctor, scientist, etc. were instantly executed in front of millions of Muslims. The rest of the Armenian population were sent to the Mesopotamian desert with no food or water. Here they were forced to walk without resting. If any of them were to stop, Turkish soldiers shot them to death. Most Armenians died from exhaustion or heat strokes. Armenians were also sometimes stripped of their clothes during these death walks and forced to run across the sand until they collapsed. Then, in the Holocaust, Jews were first arrested and deported into ghettos. Most of the Jewish population were held within these gated communities under the control of Nazi soldiers. In 1933, these Jews were then transported to concentration camps where they were demoralized and humiliated. They were constantly denied a sufficient amount of food and water to be healthy and were given a poor shelter to sleep in. As a part of their morning routine, they were forced to run around blocks of buildings. Sometimes the Jews were even stripped naked to belittle themselves even more. Ever so often, Jews were put under selection, where the soldiers in charge would pick out the weakest looking people to later gas them or burn them in a crematorium. Some might argue that the Armenian genocide and the Holocaust are not similar because after the Armenian genocide, the Turkish government actively tried to cover up their mistakes. While during the Holocaust, the German government didn't hide the genocide, and they actively apologized and reassured the public that it will not happen again. However, the Turkish government did eventually tell their citizens and the world that genocide did occur, and they were ever so sorry for such actions of discrimination towards Armenians. In conclusion, it has been proven that history repeats itself through the evidence of the Armenian genocide and the Holocaust being compared to one another. In both of these events, the government of the prosecuted groups had treated them unequally to the rest of their country's citizens for believing in the less dominant religion. These unequal treatments led to the mass and inhumane torture of Armenians and Jews in their respective events, and the near eradication of said groups. It's crucial to be taught about these events because we must learn from them to be able to make sure these acts of pure hate don't reoccur. We've already failed once at stopping this from happening, and we're failing to do so once more. But with education and a better understanding of human equality, we can stop acts of anti-Semitism and hate from cycling on and on through our history.